Hi, how's it going? Everything okay? So welcome back. In today's lesson, we begin the first step towards internationalization of our theme. We'll learn a bit about the getText functions and translate all the terms we find in our theme. Well, first things first. We have to start by adding a kind of translation support in our theme. To do this, let's open up the functions file. And within the function we created at the beginning of the course, in which we are typing all the functions and commands related to the theme configuration, let's add a few more lines. We're going to add the function here because it needs to be fired on this after setup theme hook as well. So everything that needs to be triggered on this action hook will be added here, okay? We want to create a variable first and call it text domain. And let's pass as a value the name of our text domain, which we already defined in the style.css file at the beginning of the course. Do you remember? The text domain is simply the name of our theme in lowercase letters and separated by a hyphen. Now let's include a function called loadThemeTextDomain. This function is used to ensure that future translation files created by translators, by your theme collaborators, or by the site's owner are uploaded in a correct way. It loads the MO file when it exists based on the site's language, which we have also defined dynamically in header.php. It requires two parameters. The first is text domain. Text domain in this case is the name given to a unique identifier, and its function is to help WordPress distinguish between all the translations available in the theme. In our case, the text domain will be this variable that we just created. So every time WordPress finds this little word here, fancy lab, in the theme, it will know that it's part of the translation package for your theme. We can only have one text domain inside the theme files, okay? So later you'll see that we'll have to modify some files, especially the ones we copied from other places. And the second parameter is the directory path where these translation files will stay. So let's call the function here. We pass the first parameter. And for the second parameter, we are going to use the getTemplateDirectory function. And we're going to concatenate it with the string /languages /. This will get the path of a folder called languages, which of course we have not yet created. Let's create this folder now. Okay, this ensures that whenever there is a translation file, WordPress will try to look for it inside this directory that we just created. But we also have to worry about child themes. This is a subject that I don't teach in this course, but you don't need to know in depth what child themes are to understand the explanation I'm going to give you now, okay? If you want to learn more, I will leave the link to the official documentation that talks about the subject. So it's important that your theme also takes into consideration that someone may want to create a child theme to modify your theme, which is the parent theme. To do this, just duplicate this line here and change this word template by stylesheet. Except that this line regarding the child theme has to be placed before the line related to the parent theme, okay? So let's just change the order here. Pretty simple. Okay, excellent. Now what we have for now is an environment that is almost ready for the future translations. We defined a text domain for our theme and also created the directories where in the future the translation files will be placed. So very well. So now we can finally talk about the translation functions that we mentioned already in the last lesson. These functions are all over the WordPress code. For example, let's open the 2019 theme. Let's choose any file, for example, this one, the 404.php. Notice, for example, that we have here two areas with messages in English. Here and here too. but it's surrounded by a function that goes almost unnoticed called _e. Some people don't even realize it's a function. Really, it's a function. We have another example inside this theme's function file. For example, here in the function that registers the menus. And these strings are wrapped by an even more discrete function called double underscores. That's right, this is a function too, with double underscores. And from now on, we'll be addressing these two functions, the _e and the double underscores. Really, I don't know the exact names of these functions, but I'll call them _e and double underscores, okay? We also talk a little bit about other functions, other getText functions, but these are the most commonly used. If you look carefully, the two functions have a very similar syntax. They basically require 1, the string to be translated, here, and 2, the theme text domain. In this case, this one here. The fundamental difference between the two is that the first of them, _e, is used to show the content of a translation on the theme. If you look at what happens in the body of the function, it uses the echo command to show the content of a translation on the screen. That's why it's always used to involve HTML code, as we see here in for_all_php. Here, for example, the string is inside an h1 heading tag, and here inside a paragraph. On the other hand, double underscores does not use echo. It simply returns the content of the translation. That's why it will be wrong to use it when you try to display the content on the screen, unless you echo out the function too. That's why it's used to involve pure PHP code, or to store the value of a translation inside a variable. In the example of the functions.php file, these strings are arguments to an array. Since we don't need to show these arguments on the screen, okay, but rather save them inside an array, which is actually a variable, we don't use the _e function because we don't need to echo out anything, but we use the double underscores. Get it? We have a lot of examples here in the course. Don't worry if you don't get it now. Well, there are several other functions like this too, and they are used by WordPress as well. But unfortunately, it will not be possible to talk about all of them here in the course. However, I will leave links for you to go deeper, of course. But these two functions will already be useful in most cases, at least here in our theme. Well, you understand the long task that is ahead of us, don't you? Yeah, we have to look for strings that can be translated into another language all over our theme. That's right, all over our theme. Everything we've been writing in English in previous lessons. We'll start with the files we ourselves created, then we'll move on to the files we copied from other places. However, as this is going to be a very long process, we're going to finish this class here and continue in the next one. So, until then, guys.